shall we begin?
Let the games begin.
All right.
A new age has begun. An age of freedom.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Get to the chopper!
This is going to be quite the ride.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week. It has been quite a week. We have a lot of news to get to, and I will be putting up the podcast a little bit earlier than usual. Today is Thursday, by the way, and I won't be able to record any last-minute stuff that comes out on Friday because of work. If only podcasting was my real job. But we have a lot of news anyway, regardless of that. We have a lot of news this week that came out, so we're just going to get right to it in case I already forgot what I said already. But this is the Movie Pit Podcast, where we talk about all of the big breaking movie news items of the week. That's just really sad. I'm going to talk about the trailers that came out this week. We have 3 big trailers that came out this week, and we will talk about all 3 of those. And yeah, that's what we talk about. So let's just get right to it. First, we're going to start with some of the movie news items that came out last week after the podcast went up. The first one is that Captain Marvel 2 has added, I'm going to mispronounce her name, I think it's Zawe Ashton from Netflix's Velvet Buzzsaw to the sequel for Captain Marvel 2. She will be playing an unspecified role, but it will be an antagonistic / villain role in nature, at least according to reports. Plot details are still unknown at the moment, but we do know that Brie Larson will return as Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel herself. Tanaya Paris will return as Monica Rambeau. She's playing the character on WandaVision, along with a few others as well. Nia DaCosta will be directing the movie. She directed The Littlewood. She also directed the upcoming Candyman movie. She's directing off the Megan O'Donnell script. She is actually a story editor over on WandaVision, so it's a nice little reunion there for her in a way. Captain Marvel 2 will open on November 11th, 2022. Paramount Pictures is set to develop a new adaptation of Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I. The studio acquired the rights to the musical and will be helped by the production company Temple Hill, which actually acquired, I should say, all of the Rodgers and Hammerstein catalog back in 2017. So we can probably be expecting more of Rodgers and Hammerstein's adaptations, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, the musical was based itself off a 1944 novel titled Anna and the King of Siam, I should say, which itself was based off true events by the author Margaret Landon, which saw her in 1860s Siam, which is now Thailand, with a Western-leaning king hired an English teacher to act as a governess to the royal children. The musical came out in 1951, winning a Tony Award for Best Musical. It ended up also getting Best Actress for Gertrude Lawrence and Best Actor in Yul Brynner, who would later appear in the film version that opened in 1956, which I'm assuming most people are familiar with. I know that's my first encounter with the King and I. I know there was a remake like in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I think Chow Yun-fat played the king in that movie, in that adaptation. I didn't see that one. I just know it exists. But this is pretty cool. Itself, that movie, the 1956 movie, the one with Yul Brynner, ended up getting 9 Oscar nominations and winning 5 of them. So very interesting. No writer-director are attached to the project just yet, but according to the studio insiders, producers, and the studio, Paramount, are hoping to bring a, quote, contemporary perspective to the project and incorporate diversity and contrasting worldviews by incorporating real history and musical into it. So that is their aim for this new adaptation, which should be interesting. And finally, the last bit of movie news that came out after the podcast came out last week was that the Paranormal Activity reboot why did that sound weird? Reboot took a huge step last week. Christopher Landon and Will Eubank have joined the project, with Eubank, the director of Underwater, the one with Kristen Stewart that came out last year, is taking over directing duties, and that Landon, who wrote the first wrote 4 previous movies. He wrote Paranormal Activity 2, 3, 4, and the marked ones, which was technically 5 if you want to look at it in the perspective. There was another movie after the marked ones, but that is the 5th movie in the series. He will write the script, so he's going back to writing the movies, which is very welcoming because he actually did a pretty good job writing those movies. The movie is being described by insiders as an unexpected retooling, whatever that means. Plot details occurs obviously not available at the moment since they just got a new writer, obviously, but it does sound like the reboot will keep the found footage format, at least from various outlets that I got the news from. Jason Blum and the original writer-director Oren Peli will return to produce the reboot as well. This continues Blum and Landon's working relationship because the two have worked together on Landon's Happy Death Day movies, which are also very good, and recently Freaky, which he wrote and directed with Vince Vaughn, and Paranormal Activity 4-star Catherine Newton. That's right. If you didn't remember, Catherine Newton was in one of the Paranormal Activity movies. She was in number 4. Landon also did Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, which I personally liked. I don't think that actually involved Jason Blum in it, but still, I just wanted to point that out. Eubank, on the other hand, is coming off the very impressive Underwater, like I mentioned earlier. He's also directed The Signal, which a lot of people really liked. I thought it was okay. Maybe I got to go back and rewatch it. But he also directed a movie called Love, which was his first movie. So if you want to go check that out and see, what else he's done, you can. The reboot was given a release date when it was initially announced for March 4th, 2022. And it looks like they haven't moved that yet. So they're probably going to keep that release date. Paranormal Activity movies, regardless, are very probably very easy to film. The first one was filmed on a very, very modest budget. Arguably, Paranormal Activity, the first one, is, again, arguably one of the most successful movies, budget-wise, because it was made for nothing, basically. Like $15,000, apparently, or something along those lines. And it made a very, very large return. So it's up there. It is very up there on the movies that were made for nothing, but made a crap ton of money. So there is that. So I'm excited. I like the early Paranormal Activity movies. I thought 4 was okay. It wasn't really all that great. That's kind of where I started seeing the decline for me personally. I thought Marked Ones was a good idea. But I think execution wise, it kind of, I don't want to say failed. I think just kind of fluttered a little bit. And then Part 5 was horrible. it was horrible. I did not like Part 5 at all. But yeah, this is cool. I like this. I like the Paranormal Activity movies for the most part. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with the new ones. So let's move on to trailer talk. Like I mentioned, we have 3 big trailers that came out this week, and they're all over the place. They're very different in their own ways, but they're for movies that I think a lot of people have been expecting for quite some time. So the first trailer we're going to talk about is of course, the new trailer that came out on Sunday, on Valentine's Day. How poetic. For Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut of Justice League. The trailer shows off a lot. It shows off a lot. And if this were any other movie, you would be like, this trailer is showing too much. But then you have to remember that this movie is 4 hours long. So there's probably a reason why this trailer feels like there's a lot of it. So there's a lot of stuff in there. There's, it starts off kind of with Superman yelling. It looks like it's probably his death from Batman v Superman. I could be wrong about that, but I'm assuming that's where that scene is from. There's a bunch of action shots in there. Of course, the big thing that everyone's talking about is the Jared Leto Joker scene with Batman, which is presumably one of the new things that they shot. Because Deborah Snyder, the producer of the movie, came out, I believe it was this week, with a podcast and said that they didn't really shoot that many scenes. They really only just shot one, which seems very unlikely with everything that we've been hearing about this project as of late, and since the announcement that the Snyder Cut was happening. It doesn't seem like they only just shot one. But we'll have to take that for what it is. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. It almost feels like too much stuff to talk about. I have made my thoughts on the Warner Brothers DC handling of stuff for the most part. There are some notable exceptions, like the first Wonder Woman, Shazam. I'm still a big fan of Man of Steel. But I don't know, and when you start getting into the Snyder cut of things and start getting into that little world, you got to be careful with what you say, because the Snyder cut people are very, very devoted to the whole idea of the Snyder cut. On one hand, I'm not as excited, and I don't want to, crap on your guys' parade, because, I feel that everyone should be excited for whatever it is they're looking forward to. Because I'm sure there's projects out there that I'm more excited about than most people. But when it comes to this, I'm just gonna take it for what it is. I'm gonna take the movie for what it is when they show me to it. I'm not gonna hype it up for myself. I usually don't hype up movies for myself. Anyway, I have that knee-jerk reaction of doing it, and then I calm myself down. And I'm like, okay, just take it for what it is. But with this, I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's like it kind of willed itself into existence. People wanted the Snyder cut of the movie, and I think people probably would have wanted the Snyder cut of the movie even more now with the allegations against Joss Whedon that have been coming out over the last couple weeks from people the people that he's worked with, people that he's directed and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. On one hand, I'm not that excited about it, so I'm probably the last person to be talking too much about Zack Snyder's Justice League. On the other hand, I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, oh, I'm going to bash all over and then not watch it. That's not who I am. But on the other hand, I really hope this movie is good for you guys. I really do. Anyone who is excited for that, anyone who is a devoted member of the Zack Snyder cut hive, if that's what you want to call yourself. I don't know. That's probably not what you're calling yourselves. But I'll just say, because I think that's probably what people would assume it is. Or cult. Some people who want to bash on it, call them a cult. I'm not going to do that. But I just hope it's good. I just hope it's good for your guys' sake, because otherwise we're just gonna start this whole cycle all over again. And I don't want that happening. So the trailer's out there if you want to go watch it. By the way, Zack Snyder's Justice League will come out on March 18th. So if you want to go watch the trailer, I will, of course, link it down below in the description / show notes area if you haven't watched it yet, or if you've already watched it, you want to go watch it again, there you go. Let's move on to the next trailer, which is for Disney's live-action movie prequel. Obviously, it's a movie. It's a prequel to 101 Dalmatians / an origin story for Cruella, starring Emma Stone. The movie also released a synopsis, which I will read, because if you watch the trailer and then you hear the synopsis, you'll get a better idea of what's going on. Well, maybe you get a better idea of what's going on. At least you get a better idea of the world they're setting this in. So it's set in 1970s London amidst the punk rock revolution, follows a young grifter named Estella, a clever and creative girl determined to make a name for herself with her designs. She befriends a pair of young thieves who appreciate her appetite for mischief, and together they are able to build a life for themselves on the London streets. One day, Estella's flair for fashion catches the eye of Baroness von Hellman, a fashion legend who is devastatingly chic, and terrifyingly hot. That is from the synopsis. But the relationship sets in motion a course of events and revelations that will cause Estella to embrace her wicked side and become the raunchous, fashionable, and revenge-bent Cruella. So the movie's co-stars Emma Thompson, who is playing Von Hellman. Mark Strong is also in there. Paul Walter Hauser, Joe Fry. I think they're playing the thieves in the movie. The thieves that were mentioned, and the thieves that helped Cruella out in the animated movie as well. Cruella is directed by Craig Gillespie, who recently directed I, Tonya. So that's pretty cool. And opens on May 28th, I should say. May 28th of this year. So I did not expect the trailer that we got. A lot of people have been making, their memes and their, saying their stuff that this is similar to like Joker vibe, the one with Joaquin Phoenix. Some people have been saying it's kind of giving off a Birds of Prey vibe as well. So, there is that to kind of take into consideration. I think the movie was also, I didn't put this down in my notes, but I remember reading it. I think the movie is co-written by one of the writers of, or at least the story was done by one of the writers of The Devil Wears Prada. So you kind of get that vibe as well a little bit if you've watched the movie or if you at least know about the movie. So this is definitely something I was not expecting at all. And I don't know, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's kind of a good thing in a lot of ways, because this will set the tone of the movie the way it is. It will set it apart from the other Disney live action movies that we've gotten so far, especially the ones like, obviously you can't make a Maleficent movie like, you can't make the Cruella movie like the Maleficent movie, because obviously the characters are very different, and one is set in a magical world and this one is set in presumably, our real world in some regard. So I did not expect this from the trailer. I think a lot of people were surprised by this trailer. I don't think anyone was expecting what we got. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, from this trailer. It's very different. I will say that it's different, and maybe it's good that it's different. We shouldn't expect, the same thing in kind of the same way they tell their stories for these characters. And Emma Stone looks like she's having fun, a lot of fun. There's that point in the trailer where she's wearing like this big white garb all over herself, and then she lights a match and it disappears, and she's wearing a red dress, and we see, the infamous hair that she has. It does look like she has red hair at the beginning of the movie, so maybe she's going to adopt the Cruella hair that we know so well by the end of the movie. But I don't know. I think this is an interesting trailer, interesting first trailer. I definitely think it's a very different direction than what I think any of us thought this movie would be, because I don't think we really knew anything about this movie. I mean, we've seen like pictures and stuff on like set. I don't even think I think it was just official pictures that Disney put out, so we didn't really get a good grasp on what this movie was going to be. And then now we have a trailer, and it's completely different from I would care to say different from what we all thought it would be. So I think that's a good thing, to be honest. I think that's a really good thing. So there you go. That's the trailer for Cruella. Let us move on to the final trailer of the week, at least at the time of this recording, obviously. And it's the trailer that I've been looking forward toward. And that is the trailer for Mortal Kombat. And it wasn't just a normal trailer. No. It was a red band trailer. They gave us a red band trailer for Mortal Kombat, which I love it. I really did. Directed by Simon McCoy. I think that's how you pronounce his name. This is his first feature film. This is his feature film debut. He's actually he's most notably a commercials director. So first feature film. It's produced by James Wan. It's got a script by Greg Russell. This is kind of his first movie as well. He's in charge of writing some scripts for some other movies right now, but this is going to be his first one. It's also written by Dave Callahan, who wrote The Expendables, Zombieland, Double Tap, and also had a hand in writing Wonder Woman 1984. With a synopsis that reads like this. It's another pretty long one, like Cruella's. MMA fighter Cole Young, accustomed to taking a beating for money, is unaware of his heritage, or why Outworld's Emperor Shang Tsung has sent his best warrior Sub-Zero to hunt Cole down. Fearing for his family's safety, Cole goes in search for Sonya Blade at the direction of Jax, a special forces major who bears the same strange dragon marking Cole was born with. Soon he finds himself at the temple of Lord Raiden, the elder god and protector of Elfman, who grants sanctuary to those who bear the mark. Here Cole trains with experienced warriors Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and rogue mercenary Kano, as he prepares to stand with Earth's greatest champions against the enemies in Outworld in the high-stakes battle of the universe. There's just a little bit of other synopsis in there, but you pretty much get the gist of what that is. Cast-wise, like we mentioned, Louis Tang, who is playing Cole. He was in Wu Assassins, Enter the Badlands. He was also Shatterstar in Deadpool 2. So he's playing Cole. Lundy Lin, I think that's how you pronounce Lundy. I can't pronounce the first name. He was Zack in the Power Rangers movie, the new one, Black Ranger. He's playing Kung Lao, or he's playing Liu Kang, I should say. Sorry. Joel Townsend from The Raid and The Night Comes From is playing Sub-Zero. Hiroyuki Sanada from The Wolverine and a bunch of other. He pops up everywhere. But The Wolverine, he was in there. He was also in Avengers Endgame. In the Japan sequence, he plays Scorpion. Mekhi Brooks from CW Supergirl is playing Jax. Josh Lawson from TV series like Superstore and House of Lies is playing Kano. Jessica McNamee, she's mostly an Australian actress. She was in The Meg. I believe she's Jason Statham's character's ex-wife or something similar to that, is playing Sonya Blade. Max Hung, who is a stuntman by trade, is playing Kung Lao. Sissy Stringer, who is a newcomer to the scene, is playing Melina. Tadas, I always mispronounce his last name, or his first name, I should say. Tandanubo Asano, I think that's how you pronounce his first name. He was in the Thor series. He plays one of the Warriors 3. He's playing Raiden. And Chin Han from The Dark Knight, Lao, for if you need a character reference, he's playing Shang Tsung in the movie. So that's the cast wise. The trailer, like I mentioned, is an R rated. It's a red band trailer, so it's basically rated R. It is fantastic. It is bloody. It is glorious. It is just what we needed. just what we needed. There's a lot of stuff going on in that trailer too, which is really great, and not too much stuff like the Snyder cut, but just enough to get us all curious. There is a new origins to Jax's arms. Obviously, people know Mortal Kombat. There's kind of pretty much two versions of how Jax gets his arms. This movie shows a new version of how he gets his arms, and it does involve Sub-Zero. Goro's in the movie, which I don't think we knew, or maybe I just forgot about, but Goro's in the movie, shows up in a pretty awesome shot. Maybe Reptile, because we don't know what it is. I'm assuming it's probably Reptile. It's the monster thing that Kano rips the heart out of. I think that may be Reptile. I don't know. I hope not, because they kind of just showed Reptile's death in the movie. Nitara is in the movie. She's one of the newer characters. I think she was only in a couple games, but she is in the movie. She's played by a stunt woman. We don't see her in the trailer, but she is in there. We do see Shao Kahn's statue in the movie, kind of when it's introducing sort of the bad guy characters. There is a blink and you miss it shot of Kitana's fans in there. So it's kind of like a hero shot. It's very quick if you don't notice it. If you don't, because I only noticed it because, since the trailer, again, this is Thursday, trailer coming out in the morning. I'm recording this kind of in the afternoon. So I've been watching stuff about the trailer and breakdowns and stuff. And I kind of saw Kitana's fans in the background. Scorpion's origin will be the opening of the movie, at least according to the director. He did an interview, I think, with Entertainment Weekly. He's also been doing little tidbits and stuff here and there with some other outlets, but he did say that Scorpion's origins will open the movie. So there is that. So it looks like they're playing off the origins of Scorpion, the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, obviously because the trailer ends with them fighting in a brutal fight. But there is that. A shot. And speaking of Outworld, there is a shot that looks like it's kind of like a mountains almost in a way. It's like a big open space. That's actually Outworld. That comes from the director himself saying that he wanted to bring some grounded aspects to the movie and to Outworld itself, because obviously the Outworld that we've seen has kind of been like a CGI background for the most part. But they filmed this movie in Australia, and where they filmed it, that little section of Outworld, or I don't know how much Outworld plays in the movie, but that little section they showed in the trailer, at least, that's real. That's not a CGI shot. That is a real place in Australia, and I forgot what he said it was, but they actually filmed it there, so that's pretty cool. One of the other big things is Cole. Obviously, the big thing with Cole is he's not in the games. He's not a character in the games, so a lot of people have been, and especially with the trailer, I've been trying to kind of connect why Cole is so important, why he's in the movie, and he may have a connection with Scorpion. There's a shot in that movie or in the trailer where he's kind of looking in the mirror and he hallucinates Scorpion. So a lot of people are making theories about him that he's connected with Scorpion in some way, or at least the human side of Scorpion, saying that he may kind of be a descendant of some sort, maybe, who knows. There was some weird theory that that Cole is actually Johnny Cage, which I think people are more akin to taking of the connection with Scorpion's past theory than Johnny Cage's theory, because I don't think they would just throw Johnny Cage in there and have him be someone else. But yeah. There is Liu Kang sporting the OG outfit that he has in the original games, and he also has that fire dragon. I don't know what the context of that is, but it's a cool shot. So there is that. Speaking of Sub-Zero, just going back to Sub-Zero a little bit, Sub-Zero is a key villain. He is one of the main villains, if not the main villain of the movie. And that's according to reports and interviews with the director. So that's really cool. And then we have Kano. I mentioned Kano earlier. He's a good guy, maybe he's he's the reluctant good guy that has to just team up with the good guys because he wants something for himself. But yeah, he's teaming up with the good guys here. That's we've never seen. I don't think we've ever seen that before. So that's kind of interesting that they would kind of make Kano at least team up with the good guys. Maybe he kind of turns on them, before the end of the movie. But from the looks of it, at least from the trailers, Kano is a good guy for the most part. So we'll kind of see that stuff. So if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, This is awesome. This, they're showing fatalities. The director said that fatalities were always there. It wasn't something the studio was against. They were okay with the R rating kind of take on it. So we're getting fatalities, we're getting blood, we're getting language, we're getting it all. So I'm looking forward to it. Mortal Kombat will open in theaters on HBO Max on April 16th. It's kind of a ways away after watching this trailer, but I'm willing to wait because I've seen this trailer like 4 times now, so I'm probably gonna watch it again. I'm not gonna lie. All right, so that's the trailers for you guys. Let's move on to this week's movie news. We're going to start off with some quick-fire movie news items. Again, quick-fire is pretty self-explanatory news. Not too much to say about them, but I do think they're still noteworthy because sometimes the people involved are just because it's a noteworthy news item, I believe. Like this one. In some good, wholesome news, Studio Canal has confirmed that they are working on a Paddington 3. Not everything is in the early stages, but they are working on a Paddington 3. I love the first 2 Paddington movies. They're very, very good. If you have not seen the Paddington movies, I highly recommend you do. They are very, very good. Danny Elfman will compose the score for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This isn't too surprising since Elfman and director Sam Raimi go way back. Of course, Elfman scored Raimi's Darkman, Spider-Man, and his Spider-Man 1 and 2, and the Oz, the Great and Powerful. So, nice little change of pace there. He's replacing Michael Giacchino from the first movie who scored that. So a little change there, but a welcome one, I guess, right? I mean, who's gonna say no to Danny Elfman? The new Dungeons and Dragons adaptation, which we talked about last week on the podcast, has added another star in breakout Bridgerton star. If anyone's watching Bridgerton on Netflix, Reggie Jean Page, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I could be wrong. He has now joined Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, and Justice Smith in an unspecified role. Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, who did Game Night, they directed Game Night. They will write and direct the movie, which currently does not have a release date or a production start, so we'll probably be hearing some more announcements come from them. Netflix has greenlit an animated movie musical adaptation of Lupita Nyong'o's picture book, Sulwe. I don't know how she pronounces it. I probably should have checked that. Let's just say it's Sulwe. The book was published back in 2019 and was later read by Nyong'o herself as part of Netflix's docuseries Bookmarks. So if you want to go check that out, you can. The synopsis reads like this. Again, don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but we'll say it's Sulwe. Has a skin of color of midnight. She is darker than everyone else. She knows all she wants is to be beautiful and bright. One night, Sulwe is visited by the shooting star sent by the night and embarks on a magical journey where she learns the eye-opening story of sisters Night and Day. Sulwe is a story of colorism, self-esteem, and learning that true beauty comes from within. So it's very, very cool. No word yet on the cast or director, writer, but this sounds pretty cool. Lupita Nyong'o, in case you didn't know, wrote a picture book, and you can go read it now. Black Adam has added another star to their cast in Marwan Kenzari. He is from the Old Guard, or as the people of the internet call him, Hot Jafar from Aladdin. In case you need a face in the name, there you go. He has been added to the cast in an unspecified role. Kenzari now joins Dwayne Johnson, who is playing the titled character Black Adam, Noah Centineo as Adam Smasher, Quintessa Swindle as Cyclone, and Aldous Hodge as Hawkman. FYI, in case you don't know who Black Adam is, I just threw a lot of character names at you. He is basically the enemy of Shazam, who of course was played by Zachary Levi in the movie, well, Shazam. Although later in the comics he did become somewhat of an anti-hero, but he did start off as a villain, so there is that. Jaime Collet-Serra will be directing the movie. He directed Orphan, The Shallows. I believe he also directed Jungle Cruise with The Rock. Was he the one that directed Jungle? Okay, I did not mark that down. But I know they worked together before. I think they worked together before, which is why he's doing Black Adam. Anyway, movie will start shooting in April over in Hotlanta. So the movie did have a release date of December of this year, but they're probably not going to make that. So that will definitely get pushed back. But what's it to? It's a Black Adam that, they kept pushing it back and they've been working on it for years. So there you go. Daisy Ridley is set to star in the psychological thriller The Marsh King's Daughter, based off the best-selling book by Karen Dioen. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. Ridley will play a woman hiding a dark secret. Her father is the is the infamous Marsh King, who kept her and her mother captive in the wilderness for years. After a lifetime of trying to escape her past, she is forced to face her demons when her father escapes from prison. The script is being done by Mark E. Smith and Ellie Smith, who wrote The Revenant. So that should probably give you an idea on how that will go down. And it will be directed by Neil Burger, who directed Limitless and the first Divergent movie. Ridley hasn't been keeping quiet since leaving Star Wars. She's been doing, she has Chaos Walking coming out supposedly this year, although there's very little fanfare for that movie. They haven't been really marketing that a lot. That's based off a book series. Tom Holland also appears in that movie. She also signed on to appear in the Disney Plus movie Young Woman and the Sea, which is the story of the long-distance swimmer Trudy Edelier. I think that's how you pronounce her last name, which is very true. She's based on a true story. It's based on a true person. So, a remarkable true person, to say the least. But there you go. And finally, the last quick-fire movie news item, George Clooney. His next directorial effort has found its lead cast, at least from what we can expect from it. The movie is an adaptation of the memoir by J.R. Moehringer, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, of the same name, The Tender Bar. That's what the movie's called, and that's what the memoir's called, and that's what the movie will be called, The Tender Bar. The cast is Ben Affleck, Ty Sheridan, and newly added this week, Lily Rabe from American Horror Story fame. The movie will follow Sheridan as the writer in his adolescent years growing up in Long Island in search for a father figure among the patrons of his uncle's bar. Affleck will play the uncle, with Rabe playing the mother character. William Monahan, who he wrote Kingdom of Heaven and The Departed, will write the script, with Clooney also producing the movie under his Smokehouse Pictures banner, which has a deal with Amazon Studios, which will distribute the movie. Clooney so far will not be appearing in the movie, which is a bit of a rarity because Clooney likes to appear in the movies he directs. The only movie he hasn't starred in that he's directed is Suburbicon, which was the movie that came out a few years ago with Matt Damon and Oscar Isaacs and I forgot Julianne Moore. Yeah, I think it was Julianne Moore. That's the only movie he hasn't starred in that he's directed. So it'll be interesting to see if this will be probably, I think, his second time that he's directed a movie that he hasn't starred in. But there you go. So that's your quick fire movie news items of the week. Let's move on to the big movie news items of the week, or the bigger movie news items of the week anyway. Back before Corona times, which I know is very, very long time ago, there was an ambitious plan to shoot Mission Impossible 7 and 8 back-to-back. Production on Mission Impossible 7 was just getting underway when the pandemic hit, but obviously they had to stop. Since then, they restarted, obviously, because we all know, because there was that Tom Cruise tape of, him yelling at someone for not following mask protocols. But it seems that filming on Part 7 is coming to an end, and it looks like filming for Part 8 won't start right away. One of the reasons isn't just because of COVID. It's actually because Tom Cruise is scheduled to pick up his press duties for Top Gun Maverick. The movie is set for a July release, and I guess Paramount is planning a very extensive promotional program for Top Gun Maverick. The idea was always for Cruise to take a break from Mission Impossible 8, but now with the pandemic and protocols, obviously things are a bit different, and breaks, even a small one, will obviously, be a little bit longer now because of quarantining and stuff like that, especially if he goes, somewhere else. Reports still have the 8th installment filming this year, so just there's just going to be a bigger break. It will just be after Cruise is done with the Top Gun Maverick promotion. Mission Impossible 7 does still have its release date of this year for November 19th, so I guess this will give director and writer Christopher McQuarrie some time to edit the movie, get that done, and then, go and start filming Part 8. So there's that. Kind of expected a little bit, obviously I think promotion times are going to be, I think promoting a movie now is going to be very different obviously than it was before. So there's probably going to be a lot of pre-taped stuff and stuff like that. So I don't know, but there you go. They're taking a break from there. Moving on, Jordan Peele's new horror movie has begun its casting, and apparently it's found its female lead in Keke Palmer. The movie is untitled, and while an official plot is unknown, reports say that Jesse Plemons and Daniel Kaluuya were circling the project as well. At least that was early reports. Reports still say they're circling the role, but Kaluuya's deal is expected to close. But Plemons probably won't be a part of the movie because of scheduling issues that will prevent him from joining. And we will talk about Jesse Plemons also in a little bit on a project that may be the reason why he's not joining this project. Peele will also write the script and will come from Universal, which has a 5-year deal with his production company, Monkey Paw, so that, they come 2 and 2. Palmer does have a small history with Peele. She actually appeared in the sketch series Key and Peele, and recently appeared in Hustlers, which I think maybe some people will know her from, besides her, younger phase of her career where she was on, I think it was Nickelodeon. I want to say Nickelodeon. But she recently was also an indie drama called Imperial Dreams, and she finished recently a slave drama called Alice, which she actually also executive produced, which is pretty cool. The movie does currently have a release date of July 22nd, 2022, so we can probably expect to hear some more tidbits from that. And Jordan Peele, I'm assuming, he probably films pretty quick. I mean, not saying, that he wants to film a movie quick, but if they want to keep that release date, they got plenty of time to do that. Stick with horror a little bit. Joaquin Phoenix is teaming up with Ari Aster, the director of Hereditary and Midsommar, for Aster's next film called Disappointments Boulevard, which will come through A24, which released Hereditary and Midsommar. So Ari Aster obviously has a very good history with A24, so why ruin it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The movie is described as a quote intimate, decade-spanning portrait of one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time. That is the early synopsis of what that is. Or not synopsis, just what it's described as. This is different from another movie that Aster was supposedly working on, because there was a kind of a description of what his other movie was working on. So that was described as a surrealist horror film set in an alternate present. So we don't know if it's the same movie, maybe it got changed, or they're just, obviously Aster was probably working on, multiple things at once. But either way, I think that sounds pretty cool. And we all know that Phoenix is very picky on the projects he chooses. So if he chose this, I'm assuming that this is going to be pretty good, and that he can sink his teeth into this. So I'm all for it. Ari Aster, obviously Hereditary, Midsommar, scared the crap out of all of us and disturbed all of us in more ways than one. But there you go. Moving on. Again, still sticking to the horror train. And oh wow, that was a nice little segue. I did not even plan that segue and that wording. The James Wan produced remake of Train to Busan has found its director. And if you were on the fence on the movie happening, like I was, I can tell you right now, I am excited for who they got to direct the remake. I'm gonna mispronounce the last name, although I think this is the closest I can get to pronouncing his name. Timo Tahajanto. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He directed May the Devil Come for You, and it's the sequel. And he also directed the great action movie The Night Comes for Us. I think both of which you can watch on Netflix. I don't know if you can see the sequel to the May the Devil Take You, but I know the first one is on Netflix. If anything, they're probably both on Shudder. If you want to go check those out. So he's going to direct the movie. The movie will be written by Gary Dauberman, who wrote The Nun. He wrote and directed the third Annabelle movie. He also had a hand in writing one of the It movies. And it will presumably, I'm assuming, follow the same story or some part of the same story from the first one. The original saw a workaholic father along with his distant daughter on a train to Busan when the train suddenly gets overrun by zombies, obviously. So the first one was obviously a mega hit. A lot of people fell in love with it. It got a sequel made, which was kind of lackluster, to be perfectly honest. But the first movie was really, really good, and they're making a remake of it. James Wan producing, Timo attached to it. I'm not going to pronounce his last name. Timo attached to it. I love everything he's done. It's funny that he can switch back from action to horror, just, like on a flip of a coin, pretty much. But he does it so well. And even The Night Comes for Us, even his action scenes, they kind of have some horror elements to it in some way. So Train to Busan also had some action scenes. It was a horror movie. It was a drama. It was an action movie. And if anyone can bring those all together and effectively, not just like bring them all together, but bring them all together and effectively make a good to great movie, it's this guy. It's Timo. I believe in him. I am super excited. I actually forgot they were remaking Train to Busan, and when I saw this news literally dropped right as I was about to record. I had to write it up because this is really, really cool. And like I mentioned, if anyone can do this If anyone can bring the drama, if anyone can bring the horror, and if anyone can bring the action, it's him. Watch his movies. Watch May the Devil Take You. I haven't watched the sequel yet, but watch May the Devil Take You. Watch it. The Night Comes for Us. I think he directed another movie. The Night Comes for Us, by the way, great, awesome action movie. Some of the guys from The Raid are in there. Joel Towsum's in there. Iko Uwais is in there. I think he did another movie with Iko Uwais called Headshot. I think that was also him. That's also very good. He's great, and the fact that he can do horror and action so seamlessly is amazing. So I am looking forward to Train to Busan. I know a lot of people are like, no, I am looking forward to it. You can have your Snyder cut. I can have this. It's not the same, but yeah, I am completely looking forward to this. And finally, the last movie news item of the week. I told you I'd come back to Jesse Plemons because Martin Scorsese's next film, Killers of the Flower Moon, has had a casting shakeup as Jesse Plemons is set to take over the lead role in the movie from Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, DiCaprio will remain in the movie, but he will be playing a secondary character as opposed to the lead character. Plemons will now play the role of Tom White, an FBI agent investigating a series of brutal murders with the Osage Nation, Oklahoma. DiCaprio will play Ernest Burbank, a nephew of the powerful local rancher played by Robert De Niro, who is a, quote, strong-headed rancher, end quote, which I'm gonna assume he's racist. That's probably reading too much into it, but I'm just gonna say it like that. Lily Gladstone, I forgot to look up what she was in, but she will play the wife of DiCaprio's character. So that kind of rounds out a little bit the cast there. The movie itself is based off a nonfiction book by David Grant, I believe of the same name. So this is an adaptation of a nonfiction book. So this actually happened, and it's truly terrifying once you read a little bit more into the story, which I did. And yeah, that's never good. This will be adapted by Eric Roth, who had a hand in writing Arrival, which very, very good, and also an adaptation of a book, although a fiction book at that point. Killers of the Flower Moon has had a very interesting history itself, also trying to get to the big screen, or something close to it. Originally, the movie was going to be set up at Paramount Pictures before the budget quickly ballooned to a reported $185 million. That was after the Oklahoma tax cuts and after Scorsese was able to land permission to film on actual Osage land, which is very impressive and obviously something that many production companies can't really do. The movie was then picked up by Apple TV Plus, but no release date has been given just yet. This is pretty huge. Jesse Plemons obviously making a name for himself since breaking onto the scene, I believe with Breaking Bad. He's been playing a lot of character actors. He never really leads a movie, so this is pretty cool. Recently he was in Judah and the Black Messiah, but the fact that Jesse Plemons never really leads a movie, he's always kind of playing second fiddle a little bit. This is pretty cool. And of all the movies he's gonna lead, it's gonna be a Martin Scorsese movie. So that's very, very impressive on all accounts. And he does have a history with Martin Scorsese. He was briefly in what was it? The Irishman. I almost forgot the name of the movie. He was briefly in The Irishman as well. So a nice, little reunion there. Nice little reunion between Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know. There was no reasoning why Leonardo DiCaprio took a smaller role. I'm assuming probably scheduling conflicts or something to that effect. At least from what I read, I couldn't see anything as to why he chose not to stick with that lead role. But either way, I think that's good for Jesse Plemons and good on that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do and what they accomplish with this. Obviously, like I mentioned, this movie has been in production for a very long time, or at least trying to get into production for a very long time, and they're finally getting to it. And couldn't happen to a better guy, Jesse Plemons, because if everyone kind of knows who he is. I'm assuming they kind of see the guy. There's always that joke that he's, you can't get Matt Damon, just get Jesse Plemons because they look like one another. But he's very good in anything he does, whether it's comedy, whether it's drama. He's very, very good, and I can't wait to see him lead a movie, especially one by Martin Scorsese, especially something as horrible in itself. The real event was horrible in itself, but something that leads itself where he can, take a big chunk of whatever you can get. So that's pretty cool. So that's it, everybody. That is all the movie news items I have for you guys, at least at the time of this recording. If anything big drops, I will put them up on the Twitter page, and I will probably talk a little bit about it next week on the podcast, which I believe, actually, I don't know if it's this week or next week. I did not check. I'm pretty sure we're coming up on our 5-year reunion. So I don't know if it's this week or next week. It might be this week. I did not check that. I know it's in February. So yeah, it's probably, if it's this week, then happy 5 years to the podcast. If it's next week, then we'll talk about it next week. But, that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's all the news I got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast this week. Be sure to check us out on all of our platforms: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We are also on, like I mentioned, on Twitter and Instagram, newly on Instagram. I'm still trying to figure out what the Instagram page is going to be for the most part. I kind of already know what it is, but I want more to it. But links to those will be down. Actually, links to those will be down below, so you can go check them out. You can also go follow me on my personal accounts if you wish. What else is down there? The trailers for this week: Mortal Kombat, Cruella, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. And if any other trailers drop that I forgot to mention or anything, or didn't even see, I'll put those links down there as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening once again. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there. If you are suffering from the winter storm, especially all the people that, like in Texas, or all the people just down south who are not accustomed to this weather, who are not accustomed to snow, who are not accustomed to winter, or real winter, like, someone like me who is from outside Chicago and deals with winters like these, time and time again. I'm with you. Hopefully you find a place where you can stay warm. Hopefully you get your power back. Hopefully you get your running water. I can't imagine what you guys are going through. And if anyone knows anyone who lives and is dealing with this, just, if you can, and if you can get a hold of them, reach out, ask how they are. Cause that is something that, if you've never gone through it, if you don't know what it's like, it can be rough, and it sucks. And just seeing the stories and stuff like that, it's hard, because I know a lot of people who live, down south. I know quite a few people who live in Texas, and I haven't been able to get hold of them yet. And I think just because they don't have any power. And, yeah. So please, if you are from that area, or if you know someone from that area, check in on them. Be careful, be safe. Hopefully you guys are staying warm, and hopefully you guys have power or anything like that. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys again. There's no easy transition from that, but that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. Please be careful. Please be safe. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!